Ujamaa, Ujamaa, I want to Jama with you. All right, so we're gonna go to chapter 3. It's gonna be a short one. Now, what I'm a little afraid of is that chapter 4 looks pretty long, like 44 to 76, a good 32 pages. So I don't know about that one, but this one's 6 pages, so it should be pretty quick. How do we get to there though? I think it's like page 17 of this PDF or something like that, or page 16, something like that. Nope, it's not. So we're gonna just try to go through the PDF, past the Arusha Declaration, and here we have it. It's page 24 of the PDF. So let's see how the comments are. We got no comments. We got one viewer. Nice. Okay, so my son's here. I don't know if you guys heard that. That's he doesn't know that you're not supposed to do that. But anyway, all right. So socialism is not racialism. The Arusha Declaration and the actions relating to public ownership, which we took last week, were all concerned with ensuring that we can build socialism in our country. The nationalization and the taking of a controlling interest in many firms were a necessary part of our determination to organize our society in such a way that our efforts benefit all our people and that there is no exploitation of one man by another. So again, so okay, he prints this in the Nationalist, which is interesting, right? On 1967. And he's like, look, we had the Arusha Declaration and the actions related to public ownership, which we took last week, were all concerned with ensuring that we build socialism in our country, i.e. you take control of public ownership, right? You take public ownership of some property. And this is a really interesting question that we have to get, understood. Hold on a second. I got one comment. I got 2 comments. So we got Learning Curve tells us greetings in her melodious voice, and then EL gives us the hand wave, which is, just enough to let us know that EL is here. All right, so the nationalization and the taking of controlling interest in many firms was a necessary part of our determination to organize our society in such a way that our efforts benefit all our people and there's no exploitation of one man by another. So when you nationalize and everybody knows this, but when you nationalize a business, you make it public property, right? Or you make it the property of the government. You take it from another entity, all right? Which is fine, obviously. Yet these actions do not in themselves create socialism. They are necessary to it, but as the Arusha Declaration states, they could also be the basis for fascism. In other words, for the oppressive extreme of capitalism. For the words with which I began my pamphlet Ujamaa in 1962 remain valid. Socialism is an attitude of mind. So that's actually pretty interesting. That paper before was from 1962, the first one, and this is in 1967. So remain valid. Socialism is an attitude of mind. The basis of socialism is the belief in the oneness of man and the common historical destiny of mankind. Its basis, in other words, is human equality. All right. So acceptance of this principle is absolutely fundamental to socialism. The justification of socialism is man, not the state, not the flag. Okay? Socialism is not for the benefit of black men, nor brown men, nor white men, nor yellow men. The purpose of socialism is the service of man, regardless of color, size, shape, skill, ability, or anything else. And the economic institutions of socialism, such as those we are now creating in accordance with the Arusha Declaration, are intended to serve man in our society. Where the majority of the people in a particular society are black, then most of those who benefit from socialism there would be black, but it has nothing to do with their blackness, only with their humanity. So this is where it gets a little bit funky. Okay? This is where it gets a little bit funky. And this is partly why, like I said, I put him in the top 3, and occasionally he's below. Occasionally he's like, occasionally I'm debating, whether he's number 2 or number 3, because obviously I put Garvey as 1, and I would put and it's like, do you put him as number 2 or do you put him as number 3? Because Carlos Cooks is also a great brother in the 20th century, right? But Carlos Cooks doesn't articulate this Is it brown? Is it white? What about your, black is just coincidental. This is his ancestral land. Okay? It's not the Europeans' ancestral land. And like, part of it is not. I mean, again, now, here's the question. Now, you could say, is it my ancestral land? You know what I mean? And so the argument could be made against that. Although, again, you go to, that's why I like Malema. We celebrated Malema the other day. Malema's like, look, all of Africa is all Africans. But the thing is this, it's not the Europeans. So if anybody should be benefiting from the produce of Africa, it should be the Africans. Just the same as how the Europeans benefit from Europe. And none of us, like that's why you don't ever see me going out, oh man, I want America to give me something. Like I say, look, if America is going to benefit America, then that's fine. Like, it's going to benefit the Americans, the European Americans, that's fine. Like, it has nothing to do with me. But yeah, this is and actually there's this video, you guys should watch it. There's this video of actually, I think I can actually show it. Let me see if I wait for me to show it. But there's this video on Twitter circulating right now. Oh, actually, I probably can't. I can't show it because, if I show it, they might just take down this video. So, but basically, it's this video of these little Sudanese kids, right? Deep, dark African Sudanese kids, and they're talking about the abuses they face from the Egyptians. Maybe I could probably link it in the description. I'll just, because my thing is, I'm gonna play it safe with these particular videos. I'm gonna play it safe and not try to just like lose the content, so on and so forth. Let me see if I could I'll just send you guys the link, and then you guys can watch it on your own. Let me see, Pan-Arabism. So there's this. So like I said, make sure you guys join the Discord, and you follow the YouTube or what have you, right? I don't think this place has any legal jurisdiction in America, but like I said, I'm not even trying to play around with it anymore. So this is the Twitter. You guys can watch it on your own time. Just click it in the link description. So let's see. Let me see what these comments are. Trigger Happy says, Learning Curve says, public ownership does not mean that there is no economic stratification. You were right when you said we don't like capitalism when the alien is a capitalist. All other groups say they are the only man. Yup. Trigger Happy says, yeah, I'm so glad he saw the light because this is nah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say whether we just know that Chinwezu suggested he did. We don't know to what extent, But yeah, Learning Curve says, and they do not do business with others, but others only benefit themselves. People that marry out will always betray us because they have an external interest that they are trying to cater to. We have no friends, All right, so let's go. So she says, some years ago, I made the point that fascism and racialism can go together, but socialism and racialism are incompatible. The reason is easy to see. Fascism is the highest and most ruthless form of the exploitation of man by man. It is made possible by deliberate efforts to divide mankind and set one group of men against another group. So here's really realistically. So again, the word exploitation. So I want you guys to go to my book. So I told you guys I wrote the Book of Power, right? I want you. In fact, I'll just say it now. I'll just show you guys now so that I don't forget later on. Wait, let me see if I have the right screen up. Nope. All right, so I want you guys to go cop yourself the Book of Power. So in the Book of Power, right, there's this section where I discuss something similar to this, and this is about exploitation and basically the ways of the Eurasian versus the ways of the African. So the African, essentially the exploit, you're going to pick up on how Nyerere is really anti-exploitation. It's not so much that he's socialist as much as he's anti-exploitation. And the reality is that you can have a stratified organization that's not exploitative. I'll give you this example, right? After I finish this podcast, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell I'm sitting in front of my computer, right? this microphone in my hand is connected by a cord. My computer is on a desk. My son's probably, well, if he's not in here, although he is in here now, but if he's not in here, I'm going to call him from wherever he is to pick up this thing and move it 5 feet in front of me onto the desk. Right now, I remember reading about people saying these kind of things where they're like, why did my dad call me to press the remote when he could have just got up his own self, right? Yeah, I could, obviously, right? The thing is that that's not exploitation, you know? You could look at it as reciprocity in the sense of, realistically, I feed this kid, I take him out wherever he wants, I give him whatever he wants to eat, you know, provide a roof over his head, all that kind of stuff. And all I'm doing is asking him to just move a freaking mic onto a table, you know? Like it's like, come on, you know? Neither of us are exploiting one another. We're giving and receiving in comparable measure. I mean, obviously not comparable because he's still a child, but, you know, notwithstanding, it's not exploitation to be like, hey, I don't give a shit what you're doing, I could do it, you know, I could do it myself, blah blah blah. That said, you know, he's really anti-Wazungu, because Wazungu's about the exploitation. He's really anti-Wazungu, but what the Wazungu does is Wazungu tells you that it's not him, it's not Wazungu, it's exploitation. You understand? And so it's not the ways of Wazungu per se, but it's something more particular. And when you do that, you make this sort of confusion where it's like, oh, it's not socialism, it's racialism. And my thing is that when Trigger Happy says, you know, we're glad he saw the light later, I don't know if he saw that light. You know what I mean? I know he eventually says, yeah, well, you know, Africa, you know what I mean? Like, sure. But is that the same as recognizing that Wazungu is going to be your enemy? He's going to be. So anyway, EL says this is why I like nationalism. So yeah, exactly. So in Nazi Germany, the majority, speaking of nationalism, right? In Nazi Germany, the majority were incited to join in hostile actions against the Jews, who were a minority religious and ethnic group living among them. I hate Jews became the basis for life, a basis of life for supporters of the Nazi government. With a man or woman who hates Jews or Asians or Europeans or even West Europeans and Americans is not a socialist. He is trying to divide mankind into groups and is judging men according to the skin color and shape they were given by Amon. Or he is dividing men according to national boundaries. In either case, he is denying the equality and brotherhood of man. So again, we don't know if he really left this mentality. That's not what I picked up from Chinwezu. I just know that Chinwezu said he started talking about Black Africa for Pan-Africanism, right? But that's not to say that he didn't look like he was like he recognized that, oh yeah, well, Western Europeans and the Americans are actually the bad guys. But anyway, without an acceptance of human equality, there can be no socialism. And again, if that's the case, then fuck it. Like, I ain't gonna be no fucking socialist, right? This is true, however, as socialist the institution may be. Thus it was that when Nazi Germany organized for corrupt group of industries, no socialist could rejoice, for it simply meant that the fascist state was more highly organized than ever. Nor do socialists welcome the news that South Africa has established an oil trading and refining company in which the state owns a controlling interest. We know that this simply makes the fascist state more efficient in its oppression and more able to defend itself against attack. We in Tanzania have to hold fast to this lesson, especially now as we advance on the socialist road. For it is true that because of our colonial history, the vast majority of our capitalist organizations in this country are owned and run by Asians or by Western Europeans. 20 years ago, we could have said all the capitalists in this country were from those areas. We cannot say this now. For the truth is that capitalism and capitalist attitudes have nothing whatsoever to do with race or national origin of those who believe in them or practice them. Indeed. And I mean, look, at this point in time, again, like this, here's the thing. They came and brought this attitude. They came and brought this economy, right? But they left it. They educated you. You allowed them to teach you in schools and so what have you, right? That said, what do you say now? What do you do now? Do you just say, well, it's not them. It could be us now. Oh, I shouldn't disrespect our ancestor like that, but you guys get it. But the true national origin who believe that, again, this is top 3. This is top three. So you know, say what you want. This is top three. Bomba clot. You said you can't see the screen. My apologies. My apologies. I mean, this is a short article, so I could just like show you guys. Although you guys have the book at home, but you see, this is, dang, I read like all this stuff. My fault. But I mean, you know, it is what it is, right? Sorry, 20 years ago, we could have said all the capitalists in the country were from those areas, blah, blah, blah. Indeed, nobody who was at Arusha needs any more proof that the temptation of capitalism ignores color boundaries. Even leaders of TANU were getting deeply involved in the practice of capitalism and landlordism. A few had all started talking of my company, and very many others would have done so if they could. They were capitalists by desire, even when they could not be so in practice. Hence the resolution on leadership. Hence the difficulties we must expect in enforcing this resolution. So I do want to tell you guys, I want to show you guys this video. I'm just trying to find a way for it. I came across this really now look, you want to join the Discord if you want to really engage in deep conversation, okay? But in the Discord there's this section called deep discussions, okay? And in the conversation I pointed out that there's how did I put this? There's this video of these Chinese people, right, making their, you know, famous sauce or whatever. Like, I don't know what sauce. Let's just pretend it's a General Tso's sauce, right? So they make this General Tso's sauce for mass production, right? So you drop a whole bunch of ingredients in a particular vat, okay? A whole bunch of ingredients. And the question is, how do you determine what the recipe is going to be? How do you determine how that, like who to package it? How do you determine what machines to build and all that kind of stuff? Like, where does that question come to? Because what we do when we talk about this, you know, socialism and this capitalism and all that kind of stuff, is that we don't realize why these economies developed, and in so not realizing, we don't realize what we're like what we're pushing back against. You know, like, who determines the recipe? And if you're dropping, you know, let's say you're dropping $5,000 worth of ingredients, you know, whether that be bay leaves or whether that be butter, you know, whether that be whatever, just $5,000 worth of it, and the ingredient is garbage, whose head is gonna roll? If it can't sell, whose head is going to roll? You know, that the real question always becomes, like, that's what realistically what capitalism versus socialism should be about. It's the question of whose head is going to fucking roll. Sorry, little boy, I forgot. You know, can you imagine somebody? My son's right here, so. Anyway, hence the difficulty we must expect in enforcing this resolution. All right, so socialism has nothing to do with race. Let me see what the comments are like. So Trigger Happy, appreciate that for pointing that out. And make sure you. I'm going to go to live chat, but let me know if your chats don't show up. Let's see. Okay, so I see another chat that didn't show up. So EL says, otherwise the capital that Europeans got through theft, they might use it to win against us in perpetuity. Yeah, exactly. They're always, you know, there's a lot of comments I don't see from EL. But EL also said, if we don't handle our independence very well, colonizers will come back in the form of investors. Yup, that's it. That's it. Why I like nationalism. All right, so let's see. Socialism has nothing to do with race nor with country of origin. In fact, any intelligent man, whether he is a socialist or not, realizes that there are socialists in capitalist countries and from capitalist countries. Very often, such socialists come to work in newly independent and avowedly socialist countries like Tanzania because they are frustrated in their capitalist homeland. Neither is any intelligent man blind to the fact that there are frustrated capitalists in the communist countries, just as there will in time be frustrated capitalists in Tanzania. It may even be that some of those frustrated capitalists from Eastern countries come to work with us. Neither is it sensible for a socialist to talk as if all capitalists are devils. It is one thing to dislike the capitalist system and to try and frustrate people's capitalist desires, but it would be as stupid for us to assume that capitalists have horns as if for people in Western Europe to assume that we in Tanzania have become devils. In fact, the leaders in the capitalist countries have now begun to realize that communists are human beings like themselves, that they are not devils. Now, I want you guys to figure this out. I want you to pay attention to this. The Americans, for what it's worth, won the Cold War. They destroyed the Russian economy, and the Russians suffered for it. Okay? The Russians suffered for it. The reality is that whether or not you believe another people are evil or good, whether or not you believe that another people deserve, humane treatment or what have you, people are trying to destroy your economy and destroy your well-being. And then when you suffer, they will watch. You have to protect yourself first and foremost. And if you do not protect yourself, you will just be a victim, and nobody will be to blame but yourself. Whatever economy you're trying to strive for, do it fully, understanding that other people will try to take it from you. Okay? All right, so one day they will realize that this includes the Chinese communists. It would be very absurd if we react to the stupidity they are growing out of and become equally stupid ourselves in the opposite direction. We have to recognize in our words and our actions that capitalists are human beings, just as socialists are. They may be wrong indeed by dedicating ourselves to socialism. We are saying that they are. But our task is to make it impossible for capitalism to dominate us. Our task is not to persecute capitalists or make dignified life impossible for those who would be capitalists if they could, right? So again, I don't want to be too doctrinaire, but he's doctrinaire, but it's all right. In truth, it is necessary for socialists to think about. Because look, again, I want you guys to remember this is written in 1967. Many of us weren't even born in 1967. Obviously, some of us were, but even if we were born in we were alive in 1967, we might have been young. This was like before our time. So you can't become too upset or too angry about history, no matter what. This is like you didn't even exist. You didn't even have a say at this point. You're the product. You're the, or if you did exist, like I said, you could have been like 12 years old or something. You know what I mean? It's not that serious for you to be outraged 50 years later or what have you, or actually more than 50 years. So anyway, it is true. In truth, it is necessary for socialists to think about issues, about policies. Actually, let me look at the comments. Learning Curve says, we are distracted by their money. We leave the village children with empty bellies, empty heads, and unprotected. The Eurasian is all too happy to capitalize on this opportunity. Yup, he sees an opportunity where we don't, and it's for us, I think, and I think, and Learning Curve is telling us this. It's for us to find the opportunities and take them. It's for us to find the opportunities and take them. That's for sure. I need to figure out a way to fix this chat so that it's so that it shows the you see, I think that's what I could do. I think I could make it do the live chat. All right. So I'll try to fix that next time. Because I noticed that it's not showing all the comments on the screen, and that's partly. It looks like I could probably actually fix it. So I'm gonna try to fix it next time. Unless you guys want me to try it now, I don't know. But let's go. In truth, it is necessary for socialists to think about issues, about policies, and about how our institutions can serve the people of our society, to try and divide up the people working for our nation into groups of good and bad according to their skin color or their national origin or their tribal origin is to sabotage the work we have just embarked upon. We should decide whether a person is efficient in a particular job, whether he is honest, and whether he is carrying out his task loyally. But those of us who call ourselves scientific socialists must be scientific and objective in our thinking and in making such judgments. We must think about men and individual men, not about Asians, Europeans, Americans, and so on. So you see other people are around him saying, yo, these Asians, we can't trust them. They're like these Europeans, they're disloyal by merit, by birth, are the Americans. They might be efficient in a particular job, but they're never honest, right? You know, and I want you to pick up on that. The Native American, right? The real Native American, said the white man speaks with a forked tongue. He said the white man speaks with a forked tongue. In the Akan culture, there's this word for white people is oyinbo or something like that. I think it's oyinbo, but one of them. And what it means is like liar or something. You know, it doesn't even mean like white. Like we use it as foreigner, but it means like basically, oh, those are the liars. That's what they used to say. And yet, given the, you know, because Native Americans knew the white man before the white man knew the white man, okay? And given that the Akan, like, just meet them, and they're like, oh, these liars, right? These deceivers. Fast forward to 1967, and it's like, you're still, as an African people, like, well, we could probably trust them, can't we? And I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of industry that I'm not 100% confident that our people can create without some sort of interaction, engagement with them. Obviously, I would prefer to just use a textbook of theirs, but that's still low-key engaging with them. You know, nevertheless, you know, so I mean, what I'm saying is that I understand there's a limit to like shutting them off. Like if you want to shut them off completely, you probably won't figure out how to make an airplane. Not to say that you can't. It's just that, like, let's say if you just go to a village, you know, they're not building airplanes. You know what I mean? So it's just very unlikely that you will build an airplane. You know, you like, but then it becomes kind of like, that's why I liked Chinwezu's essay. So make sure you guys check out that Chinwezu essay. I think it's the second one I read about the Meiji Empire or whatever, right? The reason why I like that one is because he was like, look, the Japanese were like, yeah, fine, we can study with you guys for one generation, but the second generation, you're you know, like, we might just need you, we're gonna need you less, and by the third generation we're not going to need you at all. And that's realistically what you'd want to do when it comes to these other people. But that's not at all what we have today. We don't have that today, because that's not what we're striving for. But that's something that we want to remind our people to strive for. EL says, actually, some kids in South Africa built an airplane. Yeah, I'm not saying that we. I specifically said, like, if you go to the village, you know. So yeah, if you're going to the urban schools, that's what I mean. Like, when you go to the urban schools, you are going to engage Wazungu, you know? So it's like you technically do, like, what I mean is that if you say, oh, we're going to shut out Wazungu completely, like, are you going to be able to replicate his technology if you have no example of him, you know? So the kids in South Africa, it's like, you know, like, South Africa's like it's pretty much a European country at this point. You know what I mean? like it's a European country with an African majority at some point. You know what I mean? It's not like they're like just like kids in a village. You know what I mean? But I mean, I get like obviously I think that we can do it, but I mean, I wouldn't say that us doing it is independent of them at this point. You know? But EL says it wasn't a cutting edge one, but one nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things that people are doing. Like I said, in Haiti, they're building earthquake proof housing. You know, like the kids are building yeah, you can teach like a lot. There are a lot of African engineers. You know what I mean? So it's not like we would still need Wazungu. Yeah, so it's not like we would still need Wazungu. But the reality is that those engineers probably did. You know. And that's the trouble. Trigger Happy says, a clear example of using people as tools and not as your center, not absorbing their ways and ideas. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much the it. Let's see, what's the next one? Certainly, socialism in Tanzania will be built by Tanzanians, and certainly we are working for the time when all those in our government employment will be Tanzanians, although they will not all be black Tanzanians. You see what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't even have to say this, you know? And that's the thing. But it is absurd for anyone to suggest that because we now have non-Tanzanians working for government or in the newly nationalized industries that we do not control our own affairs. Only those who are lacking in self-confidence. And this is actually, I want people to realize, this is what I was saying. I wrote it on Twitter, in fact, that, you know, we always, like the American mindset is something that you also have to push back upon, which is this idea that white people just own and control everything. No, they don't. The people in control in Tanzania at this point was Nyerere and them. You know, it was Nyerere and them. It was. And we have to just come to terms with that. So he's like, look, to say that because there's some white people in government that we don't control our own affairs, like, you're lacking in self-confidence or you're trying to hide their own shortcomings, could say this now. Only those who are lacking in self-confidence or who are trying to hide their own shortcomings could say this now, right? For all the evidence is against them. He says, look, we obtained our independence although we were governed by colonialists. We became a republic although there were many expatriates working here, at the time even in high positions. We effected the union of Tanganyika and Zanzibar, although many government servants on the mainland came from countries which do not like the Zanzibar revolution. We've accepted the Arusha Declaration and in the space of 1 week have nationalized or taken control of all the large capitalist firms and institutions which could have dominated our economy. In all these activities, we have used all the government servants concerned, and all Tanzanians and non-Tanzanians alike are carrying out our decisions loyally and are working very hard indeed. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is like critical. This is critical of all. Like, even though I'm complaining about Nyerere and all that kind of shit, like, the reason why he's top 3 is because this is a black man who took over his freaking government and did whatever he wanted. And until we recognize that you can do it, because a lot of our people are naysayers. Like, a lot of the quote unquote conscious community are naysayers. And they're going to tell you, we don't own any countries. We don't own it. It's like, yeah, okay, maybe you can possibly say that today, but you couldn't say that when Nyerere was around. You couldn't say that when Cabral was around. You couldn't say that when Sankara was around. And realistically, you can't even say that. You can say that you have bad leadership. You could say that you have leadership that's effing up. You could say that you have leadership that behaves like a puppet. But black people control these nations. And you're going to have to come to terms with that. And only when you come to terms with the fact that you are, in fact, controlling these nations, and you're not controlling the Western nations, but you are controlling these black nations, that's when it's going to have to resonate with you that, hey, look, if I want a chance at doing something right by my people on a governmental level, I have to be in a black nation. I have to work in a black nation. And that's what it is. You know, that's what it is. He's like, look, if you just get this bullshit out of your head. The white people did not put Tanganyika and Zanzibar together. White people didn't nationalize these capitalist firms. Okay? Even if they're there, it doesn't matter. You're in control, and you have to understand what that means. You have to take that responsibility for yourself. And this is like the big difference that we really have to grasp. Let me see what the comments are like. We see Forecast is here. What up, Forecast? Let's see. Learning Curve says the foreigner will never do anything to benefit us. They benefit themselves, and we must benefit ourselves. That's it. Trigger Happy says, I just recently finished a paper on North Koreans using Confucianism and institutionalizing and modernizing it. They are unapologetic about their virtues and unapologetic about not wanting to be absorbed by other people and ideas. And that's what we have to bring to us too. We have to bring about this sort of unapologetic thing on the state level. The issue is that a lot of us are not in the states where we can implement state level sort of things. Learning Curve says any system can work if you, 1, define your people, 2, establish an effective method of punishment and rewards, and 3, create a plan for secession. Yeah, that's that number 3. The number 3 is kicking our ass. That number 3 is kicking our ass. So let's go. The Arusha Declaration talks of men and their beliefs. It talks of socialism and capitalism, of socialists and capitalists. It does not talk about racial groups or nationalities. And of course, that's the problem, obviously. On the contrary, it says that all those who stand for the interests of the workers and peasants anywhere in the world are our friends. And that's how, like again, I want to remind you guys, Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu tells you all warfare is based off of deception. Okay? I mean, obviously, Forecast is here, so we can't mention no Asians, you know. Can't get no props, but I'm just telling you, like, this is an Asian man, not a black man, not a white man, an Asian man telling you, look, all warfare is based off of deception. And I mean, if you guys want to know the full quote, it's something on the lines of, if you're far away, pretend that you're close. Make your enemy think you're close. If you're close, make your enemy think you're far. If you're massive in number, make him think you're small. If you're small in number, make him think you're large. You know, there are videos. In fact, I'll tell you guys, there are videos of fake, like, balloons that look like military gear that the British or something used in World War II to trick the Germans. Be like, oh, look, there's a whole and this is like an old tactic. Like literally, if you read Sun Tzu, he's talking about this same tactic where they're pretend like they're carrying around extra equipment just to make it seem like they're a large force coming. Because see, if a large force is coming, you got to bring a large force to defend. But if you're bringing a large force to defend, your other end isn't going to be as defended. You understand? It's strategy. So this idea, oh, well, anywhere in the world, you know, you're my friend if you about the workers. Like, yeah, okay, you know, I'm about the workers and peasants. I just had to say it. You know, the Western media just got to make up that I'm their enemy, and then I'm pretty much infiltrate your group. Like it's baby steps. And I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, anybody of your race is good, but I will tell you anybody that's not of your race isn't. Just gonna tell you what an IS is. You know, somebody told me to stop saying that. I'm gonna cool off on it. But anyway, this means that we must judge the character and ability of each individual, not put each person in a prearranged category of race or national origin and judge them accordingly. Now, that's wrong, obviously. Certainly, no one can be a socialist unless he at least tries to do this. For if the actions taken on the Arusha Declaration are to mean anything to our people, then we must accept this basic oneness of man. What matters now is that we should succeed in the work we have undertaken. The color or origin of the man who is working to that end does not matter in the very least. And actually, if you guys realize, so we talk about socialists, right? And EL said he liked nationalists. If you know what the Nazi party stands for, it means the nationalist socialists, or like the national socialists. The idea is this: they're like, we would like socialism for our nationality. Okay, now obviously people are gonna cringe and be like, did you just say that was a good idea? You know, I'm just letting you know what it meant. You understand? And if you understand that these people, you say what you will, they were able to come from less, kind of, and be able to fight the English and the French, the same people who kicked your ass in Africa in 1880 whatever, right? Shout out to Forecast. He said 1884 Berlin Conference. The same group of people, both of them at the same time. Both of them at the same time the Germans were fighting. And the Russians. I mean the Russians were able to, but see, the Russians went about with their industrialization, their socialism, and were able to take on the Germans. You understand? While America was sitting down, you know, scratching its ass, right? But the fact that they were able to beat both of your colonizers at the same time from their industrialization kind of tells you what you need to do. Because you lost to one of them. A small force of theirs, no less. Because they were defending their homeland in Europe. So they had a more intense fight. They had to give a more intense effort than colonizing you. So I want you to understand that. And that's the thing about that, you know, I mean, like I said, a lot of people are gonna cringe because, you know, you're raised in this American Western thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, the bad guys, you know, that's fine. You could say they're the bad guys. That's fine, right? But it's about learning at some point. It's about learning at some point. And saying to yourself, well, if I do this, if I do X, Y, Z, you telling me I could defend myself against all the colonizers at the same time? Or you could say, well, let's do what we were doing already. Let's welcome them. Let's make them friends. You know? Of course, you got to turn up the heat because forecast is here. All right. Let's see. Learning curve says tactics are universal. There's no oneness of man. You understand? There's no oneness of man. Like men are fighting each other. They're going to be fighting each other. Resources are limited. Interests are divided. They're different. When you understand economics, you realize that your economic interests are gonna, like, you're always gonna be at conflict with other people in other economies. If there's a forest, like I said before, we talk about socialism. I'm like, yo, there's a bunch of trees. What do we do with those trees? Right? One says keep it as a forest. Another says make a bunch of paper. Another says let's sell logs. Okay? We can't all have it over. And at the end of the day, you know who's gonna decide? The person who punches the other person in the face. That's who's gonna decide. The person who punches the other person in the face. That's who's going to decide. You know, a lot of conflicts of the past, like in Africa, without the European, were based around what do we do with these trees? Because, like, let's say you have the Twa, the ancient people, ancient human group, right? Some people say they're the ones who created civilization as we know it, right? You know, the Twa, the shorter Africans, right? They say they're the ones, right? The Twa right now are like, yo, we like this forest. We like to, like literally, if you're talking about anybody who would, like, technically, I shouldn't even say it, but you guys get what I'm saying. They're like, yeah, we like the forest, right? Like, we like to hunt. We're hunters. We like to hunt at this point, right? And then you have the other people who are like, you know what? If we clear this forest, like, you know, you call them the Bantu sometimes, but you clear this forest, and a lot of us are descended from Bantus, by the way, but yeah, you clear this forest, and we could make a good agricultural land. The land here is rich. It can grow these big ass trees. Probably can grow some big ass, you know, whatever. Like, not watermelon, but you guys get it, right? Watermelon, whatever, right? Now the Bantu and the Twa are at odds. What do you do? Or you got the herders who are grazing. What do you do? If they want the land too. They're like, oh, this is grazing land. This is really fertile. I could probably grow some big ass cows. What do you do? And they tell you what they did. They were fighting. They have to. And now the industrialist comes along and says, hey, you know what? We can get a lot of resources and material from here. We could build a nice road through here. What is he going to do? And so it really comes to you to say, how can I be the top economy? Because the capitalists are right now. Let's face it. The industrialists are right now. Let's face it. But it is what it is. Let me just keep going because we're almost finished. Certainly no one can be a socialist until at least he tries to do it. For if the actions taken under the Arusha Declaration are to mean anything to our people, then we must accept this basic oneness of man. What matters now is that we should succeed in the work we have undertaken. The color or origin of the man who is working to that end does not matter in the very least. And each of us must fight in himself the racialist habit of thought which were part of our inheritance from colonialism. So he's like, these colonialists brought us this and we're gonna like throw it away, even though it was effective for how they took us down. EL says about all wars based on deception. There you go. One of Haiti's heroes, Dessalines or Louverture, used to make soldiers walk with a given shoulder patch, disappear, and come back with another soldier patch. This way, the enemy didn't know how many soldiers Haiti had. Exactly. I heard that an invading army is supposed to have 3 times more soldiers than defending army. Yeah, because, well, it depends, like, if you're talking about, like, a siege. But, yeah, if you're sieging somebody, they can just stay in a safe place where they can eat. Whereas you, like, where are you going to get your food? Oh, well, I guess you could get food, but then it's going to cost your military a lot. But, yeah, there's, like, long sieges and all that kind of stuff. I'm telling you, shout out to Tanzan. I'm going to... Tanzan's talking about war and stuff. You guys, I mean, shit, boy. I wanna she sent me like this one video of Megiddo. Good video. I put it on my Discord under Kupigani and Gumi. But yeah, it's a good thing, right? But anyway, let's keep going. It is not an easy thing to overcome such habits, but we have always known that it is necessary and that racialism is evil. So it is not an easy thing to overcome such habits, but we have always known that it is necessary and that racialism is evil. And now this is the issue. This is the leader of Tanzania, and he's telling you, don't be racial with regard, like, and then the Arabs are in his land. Like, even now, like I said, I know people in this country. I think maybe like Zanzibar or something. I don't know, but like they're Muslims and stuff. Like, a lot of them are Muslims and a lot of them are Arabs, and it's like, geez Louise, you know, it's like picking teeth to engage them. But anyway, we fought our independence campaign on that basis, and the equality of man is the first item in the Tanu Creed. For in our Constitution, we say Tanu believes A, that all human beings are equal, and B, that every individual has a right to dignity and respect. If we, I told you guys this was going to be a problem. All right, if we are to succeed in building a socialist state in this country, it is essential that every citizen, and especially every Tanu leader, should live up to that doctrine. Let us always remember two things. We have dedicated ourselves to build a socialist society in Tanzania, and socialism and racialism are incompatible. So yeah, it's tough because, again, it's not just like some chump on the street. It's not some, Henry Louis Gates. It's not some, Henry Skip the Truth Gates or whatever, right? It's not that. This is the leader of an African nation, and not just any leader, like one of the best leaders we've had in the 20th century. Like I said, this is top 3 Africans of the 20th century, and he's saying this, which is just like, cringe. But, notwithstanding, he still has the body of work that none of us really touch. Like, we don't nationalize firms. We don't unite. We don't unite 2 sovereign nations to make one. We don't, like, we don't have we didn't back up the Zanzibar revolution. Like this is not like chump. So, it is what it is. But anyway, that's pretty much the podcast. Like I said, I'm just gonna push this book while you guys have any finishing comments. But if you don't have anything else to say, yeah, forecast is like, damn, that's the first thing. I know the first thing, but I mean, it's kind of like when it was get this out of the way. I don't know, but it is what it is. But anyway, if you guys have nothing else, then I guess I'll just head out. There's not really sometimes people don't want to see a long ass video, and that's fine. Learning Curve says they use him like they use MLK, a useful integrationist. Yeah, well, see, my thing is this. I don't want to say that they used Nyerere. I think he was just that. What I think is that I think that sometimes black people are just going to be of a mindset that's just not, they're just gonna have a disagreement. They're gonna buy into the enemy propaganda. It's like for instance, like I could say, my mother, she's just a Christian. I'm not going to sure, I could say that Wazungu's using her. Well, not really. If she were to do something independent, I wouldn't say that she didn't do it on her own, but I would say, yeah, she bought the propaganda. You know what I mean? And so with MLK, yeah, even MLK, I think MLK bought the propaganda. Cause when you read MLK's work, he's a deep thinker too. He's a good thinker. He's not like a puppet. Al Sharpton's a puppet. He took the money. Tariq Nasheed is a puppet. He took the money. You know what I mean? MLK didn't take the money, but he took the integrationist line. Even Malcolm X eventually takes the integrationist line. Not the integrationist line, but he's like Brotherhood of Man, Islam kind of thing. Malcolm X did not take the money. You know what I mean? What happens is the propaganda is really effective. They have a really effective network for propaganda, and so I wouldn't say that people are using Nyerere. Definitely not Nyerere. Definitely not Malcolm. Right? But kind of like you said, a useful integrationist. They're useful. They whether or not they're on your side or not, whether or not you're paying them. It's kind of like there's this. I think it's somebody. I heard somebody say that there are paid agents and unpaid agents. You know what I mean? And I think this is kind of unpaid agent behavior. But anyway, I think that's pretty much all the comments. Hopefully you guys, like I said, you can check out my own book. But other than that, we're reading Ujamaa by Nyerere. And for those of you who don't know, I start off the show with the Ujamaa song. So make sure you guys go back and listen. Learning Christians, they spent years perfecting the propaganda. Yeah, they're going to continue to. It's just, that's what it is. They're going to continue to. But other than that, I appreciate fam for coming through. And hopefully we can chat again. Maybe we could do the long one tomorrow, because I guess my son's not gonna son's going on vacation or something like that. But other than that, Shem Yam Hotep, Ankh Uja Seneb Neb Amen Ma'at Dua Netcher.